great to have you back on Safari Podcast this February 28th, 2024. I am in the studio with a wonderful man, Enos Ambani. Enos, please go ahead and introduce yourself before we dive into your authentic story.
Thank you so much. My name is Enos Ambani, communications officer with Ariel Foundation. I'm also a director and a playwright. I'm also a football coach.
And as some of my listeners know, I played football for several years for Mathare Youth Sports Association. So it's a very interesting topic that I like catching up with Enos about.
Nice. Thank you.
Enos, you're also a play director with Galaxy Arts Theatre for set books, and a part-time writer with Cronies, which is a comedy group in Nairobi. And we'll get to hear more about what Enos has done and some of his work when we come back right after this break. Stay tuned to Safari Podcast. So Enos, tell me, you guy, where did you grow up? Tell me about your life a little bit. Who is Enos Ambani? Apart from the resume that you have just read us.
All right. Enos Ambani has a long story, but I'll just pick maybe the relevant stories. Enos grew up in Western Kenya. Enos is an all-round person. Perhaps that is because of how I was brought up. I was like required to handle every part, every bit at home. That's why even now I can juggle around jobs, around tasks. I do a lot of things. So when we
talk about men conference, you're the kind of a man that we want to empower young men coming up in terms of multitasking and taking on responsibilities. Otherwise thought for for the other gender.
Of course.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I was saying, Enos has done a lot of stuff, but I think most of the relevant stuff that I have done that has molded me to be who I am today. I think as a young kid or a child growing up, I used to act a lot. I used to make people laugh a lot. I think that's why even when you look at the niche I've carved for the plays, I'm only most of my plays are comedies. So I've interacted with plays from a very young age. I've been directing from a very young age until when I got until at around 2010, 2013, when I started getting into professional acting and professional directing. I think that's why up to now I'm writing, I'm directing, but being all round also helps me to get the stories I'm writing, because now I can be in the field, I can sing, I can do almost everything, and I think that is what gives me the stories that I write every day.
You, like you said, being a well-rounded entrepreneur.
Yeah, sure.
In that sense. But when going back a little bit, when you talk about Western, for our listeners who are not very familiar with the Kenya geography, it's in the western side of Kenya, and it's massive. It has beautiful lakes, beautiful terrains. So which side of Western are you? And if you can talk a bit about how that contributed to you studying linguistics and media and communications at Moi University.
Well, I come from the western part of Kenya, in particular that is Kakamega, Mumias, and I think
that's a very sugar cane.
I think if we know very well, this is where we get the Luya community, and Luya community has a lot of media personalities in the country and even outside the country, and I think growing up listening to them, most of them have also been in drama, and as you can see, they've been in drama, they're now in media. Same to me, been in drama, now into media and communications. I think that is what even drove me when I was going to campus to study linguistics, media and communication, and now also involving myself in script writing. Yeah.
And you have a bachelor's degree in linguistics, media, and communications at Moi University. And you've also written short plays for Moi University, Tharaka University, Kaimosi, including many more.
Yes.
So just take us through your process of writing a play. How does it work? The kind of inspiration that you get, because you said your well-rounded life provides the platform for your stories.
Okay, as Shakespeare says, the world is a stage. Everyone is an actor. You walk outside there, you interact with people. Everyone is taking a part in a play or in that reality in particular. So for me, anytime I'm walking, I witness anything, I'm thinking of something, you interact with someone, it's always a play coming into your mind. And I think when I joined college, I got that chance to really practice this, because now every time the cast wants a play, every time the group wants a play, and now you're able to sit down and scribble something down before you come up with a final play. So even today, as we're seated in the studio, we are acting. And if I'm to write a script for this particular play, of course I'll have to give you words, I'll have to give myself words, but now I'll have to carve them in a specific way. Let's say if I want a comedy, I'll make you funny. Of course you'll be the show host, but we'll give you words that will also make it, of course the show is interesting, but again the words will not be exact as the ones that will be coming from me. So yeah, basically the world is, as we live, we are all actors, so a story can be written anytime. I think that is what makes me write every time. Yes.
And I love that. And coming back to a few points that you have said, being well-rounded, the world is a stage, making every moment, every opportunity count in terms of the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and looking at what you're doing right now in your career and in your personal life as well. You're working with a foundation that works with vulnerable population. Talk to us about that a little bit, and how that impacts you as a person, but also your work as a playwright, and what the organization contributes.
All right. You see, as a writer, as you walk outside there, you also interact with different kinds of people, different kinds of families. But I think the foundation has also given me an opportunity to interact with a specific population, where you're meeting families that are not able to get a meal by the end of the day. The families are not able to take children to the school, and then you're given an opportunity with the organization to determine that, yeah, this kind of families need help. Then the organization comes in, they take the children, they can provide food for the families, and then by the end of the day, you make a story out of it for the organization. As you do that, someone else will read that story, and they'll keep on, or they'll support the organization more. Now, as you write those stories, you see those are the scripts we are talking about. If I want to come up with a story of such a family, or how someone can come in to assist such families, I can come up with a script. I can use my communication skills to also convince people to come in and support. I can do this physically, personally, or I can do that through the plays we do. Yes.
It's the power of storytelling.
Yes.
Indeed. So whether you're telling it to an audience on stage,
yes,
or whether you're telling it to someone who is seated sipping a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, thinking how they can impact the world around them.
And also, just to mention, the story doesn't just end there, because now you see, you don't just bring the kids to school or bring food to them only. Sometimes we also give them a chance to interact with us. They also do the plays as well. So you get the opportunity to do a play for them, a short skit, they get on stage, they do something wonderful.
So they become the superstars.
They become the superstars.
Yeah.
They become the protagonists of the story. And then someone watches that story and they say, these ones, let me support them. Yeah.
And in your journey, Enos, and looking at how you have interweaved the various facets in your life, Safari Podcast really is a podcast that allows us to dive in deep into our guests' lives, looking at where the world is right now and looking at how you've been able to make a mark for your life right now. How would you encourage, or what would you tell young people who are coming up in this day and age where mental health issues, especially for young men, has become a problem? How would you go about sharing about being grounded and following your passion and following your pursuits for happiness, for instance?
You see, the world waits for no one, and time will keep on moving. So being a victim of mental distress, I think I can tell the youth to think about themselves first. What are you able to do? Well, you're studying medicine, you're studying engineering. Probably you're not able to go to high school, you're not able to go to college, you're just seated at home. As you think about that foregone opportunity, you're not able to pay, ama hiyo engineering imekushinda. So just to translate, maybe it's not easy for you to do that engineering.
Yeah.
Do you sit down and regret? Do you sit down and say, wow, Sasa, what do I do with my life? I think there must be something better that you can do. I have done communications, but I can't say it's communications that has made me to write plays. I was able to write plays even when I was still young. Even in primary, I could still write poems. But at this time, I've realized that I can write plays and sell them. I can write plays and bring them to life on stage. I can write stories about people and they'll be able to appreciate. And then by the end of the day, I'm able to pay my bills. So if you just sit there regretting that I can't do this, I do not have this, my parents can't support me, my siblings can't support me, the world will never wait for you. It will keep on moving. Even those people who are ignoring you, they'll never go back because you're grounded. Their lives will continue. They'll still have their better lives while you are seated there regretting. And I think, talking of mental distress, that is when you get individuals committing suicide and leaving the stage. As we've just said, it's a world, the world is a stage. So you decide and exit the stage as an actor, and then we will forget about you. Life will move on. So it is up to you to decide, what can you do best? You are a footballer. What can you do best? You are an actor. What can you do best? You believe you can go on radio and be a great journalist, but there is no opportunity for you to study to study journalism. What steps have you taken? I know friends who've decided to walk into studios. They just walk into studios and they present their cases, and then there will always be someone who will be listening. I know 10 people might not listen, but there'll always be someone who will be listening, and you never know. You'll get someone will pick you up, and then you'll get that dream job that you want. Or someone will support you if you're able to write scripts like myself.
And that is a very powerful point, Enos, that you're making there. It's about adapting to how the situation is at.
Sure.
So you just don't sit and deal painfully with the hand that has been dealt to you, but then you look at creative, innovative ways. And some people would argue and say, oh, awa mefika, so it's easier said than done. They don't know what I am going through.
Sure.
How can we support such people who feel I have no other way to take a step to move on to the next step that I need to? So when I look at globally, when you look at some countries, you find that people are taking very menial jobs. Someone is working in a cafeteria. I call it menial. It's an important one. Menial in a manner that when you look at the income gaps, right? And here in Kenya, I feel that at times we don't have the attitude to appreciate those opportunities as a way to make an income. Because unajua mimi ni bazu, nilisomea Bachelor of Arts in Daystar University, niko na masters, niko na why should I work in a petrol station? Why should I be a cleaner? Why should I serve as a waitress? How can we change our attitude to adapt to the realities of making a job for yourself, taking a job that does not necessarily align to what you have studied, but also accepting and being content with it? How do those two, according to you, really, from your experiences and what you have been able to do, how do you tie that all together?
I think I'll start by saying, for me, myself, I can be able to change myself. But the biggest challenge we have is I can never know what you're thinking about. I can never know whether you're in distress or not. I can never know the challenges you're going through. So the very first step that I believe as a communicator of understanding such people is by communicating. That is why I don't know about other people, but for me, sometimes I do random interactions. Just do a random interaction. You're walking in a school setup, you're walking in a garden somewhere, let's say Uhuru Gardens for this case here in Nairobi. Maybe you're walking in Mamangina, the other side, Mombasa, and you do those short notes. You're walking and you give someone a note, and it's just a shot to brighten their day. Or you see someone seated alone or two, you walk there and sit with them and start chatting, because you see communicators do that a lot. I know some people disapprove that because people like that personal space, but sometimes I think it's dangerous. If I can be able to walk to someone and just say hi and start saying my story, you see, by me saying my story,
absolutely,
that person will also open up, and then it creates that mutual friendship. You do not know each other that much, but you start interacting. By doing that someone changes. I want to give you an experience that probably no one knows. While I was in campus, it's my mental stress had reached to a point where I wanted to take my life, and I had gone far. I had actually gone far because I had already bought the poison, and I wanted to take it, and I was alone in the room. And then suddenly, all of a sudden, someone knocks on the door. A friend of mine we used to act with. He knocks on the door. He walks in with a girlfriend. Then he tells me, "No, I've just decided to visit you." And they sit with me. Turns out there was a problem at their place. Maybe we'll mention it some other day, but there was a serious problem at their place, at the boys' place and the girls' place, so they couldn't go there. So they had to stay at my place for the night. You see, a whole night is a long time for someone who wants to commit suicide. It's the thought went away. The thought went away, and were it not for those two people walking into the house, then today I wouldn't be here. So you walking to that random person and sitting with them and telling them their story, you never know where it will end. If they're thinking of something stupid, if they have decided that they want to take a different path and you talk to them, you might just create a different story for them. They'll take a different direction. Perhaps you could get to encouraging them to walk into a studio and telling people, "Hey, I want to go on radio. I want to be a presenter. I want to do a show." Who knows? Maybe they'll be given that chance. Someone will listen to them and say, "You have that voice for radio." Or if they don't have that voice for radio, maybe they would advise them to do something else. I have a friend of mine in Mombasa who is an advocate, a very powerful advocate there, has a very big office there, he's living in Nyali. You know, Nyali in Mombasa is for the...
it's one of those luxurious places here in Kenya, in the coastal side. Yeah.
You listen to their story, they'll tell
Beautiful.
They'll tell you they had given up until one day they decided to walk from office to office, knocking every door for anyone who would listen, until he got to someone who was not going to give him a job opportunity, but they said, I have seen something great in you. That person took them back to school. Of course, he had done law, but he took him back to school to just add more on what he had in law, so that he could be someone powerful. More than that, he was given a car, he was given a house to live in, and he was practicing law at his farm. Of course, he wasn't being paid, but right now, as I've told you, he's a big advocate, a big lawyer in Nairobi, because of that step he took. So anyone listening to this, you can never know where your support system is going to come from, but don't give up. Talk to random people. Just talk to random people.
And there's one thing that you've just mentioned in terms of how you encapsulate success. You said adapting and being content in the situation that you're in, but you've also said this person became successful and has a car and a house. So how should we value success as people who have to constantly adapt to changing times, to changing situation, to changing circumstances? How do we adapt to that? How do we ensure that we are becoming flexible enough in terms of how we define success. And making it in life?
I think success is gradual. If you ask me, success is gradual. I cannot just, there are situations where you can wake up the following day, you're a millionaire, but
it doesn't mean you're successful.
Yeah, and very rare.
Yeah,
very, very rare. But I believe if today I want to become someone better, it will take steps. Even as I say, my friend, by that time he was given a car and a good house and all that. It took time. He got those things, but they weren't his. They were the person who was taking care of him. But later on, he's been able to afford his. So it was just step by step. So if you're thinking you're hopeless, you do not have a job, it doesn't mean that now you need to get a job that is paying you 400,000. If I do not have a job, then I get a job worth 20,000, then I'll take it. Then after taking it, I'll take other steps so that it keeps on, my success keeps on being defined differently. Yes.
And that's an important point, because as you said, success is gradual and it differs. I love to believe that it's also relative.
Sure.
How you define success may be very different from how I define success, but
Sure.
also as a society and as the media has shown us, as the popular world has shown everyone, is you have this massive mansion or bungalow, you have this huge tracts of land, you have all this cattle and cars and jets, but if you're not fulfilled inside you or satisfied with your life, does that diminish the material success, as we might call it? Or how do you balance the material and the inner personal satisfaction of who you can be as a person? And especially here in Africa, because we are also consuming a lot of media and a lot of information that is skewed to different audiences globally.
No, I think for me it starts with the inner person first, before we even start looking at the material bit. Because for me, I don't think, I'm not yet there, but I don't think having a lot of money will make me successful. Because to me, I like making actually impact in people's lives. Because you'll ask me, I don't earn much, I don't get much, but almost every week we have a group where we donate some cash, just some small cash, to take care of the girls that are playing football back at home. They are in school, courtesy of the money that we're giving out. Their needs are taken care of by that money. If I get small money to send back home for the girls, I feel satisfied. I feel okay. I feel if they're comfortable, then I'm comfortable. So that inner peace that starts with me when I feel very comfortable that the girls are fine makes me believe that day is successful. If I have to use the day is successful because I've done it, Yeah.
Awesome. You're listening to Safari Podcast. I am your host, Werimo Gitao, and with me in the studio today is none other than Enos Ambani, a playwright, a coach for theatre performers, a communications officer at Ariel Foundation that is doing impactful work in 3 counties here in Kenya, and importantly, he has a football team in Kakamega. And as we wind this up, Enos, tell us a little bit more about the football club. What's the name? Who is it made out of?
I was wondering when you're going to ask that. I was wondering when you're going to ask that, because I look at those girls and I feel challenged every day, because when we started the football team, it's a girls team. It's called Green Blades. When we started the girls team, our purpose was to compete in football, but we got to a point when the vision changed, or our objective changed, and surprisingly it changed through a sponsor. Someone got interested in the team and they started supporting us without any conditions. They picked at first they picked 5 girls and placed them on scholarship. And then you see, for us, we had a lot of concentration in the competitions that we were in, but the results weren't so good. So we were asking ourselves, hey, Sister, how will this sponsor view us? Why? Then the sponsor came one day and said, you see, I'm not, yes. Then the sponsor says, I'm not interested in...
Speak of believing in people.
I'm not interested in the results. For me, I want to see the girls in school. I want to see the girls happy. And there's something they used that we had to adapt in our objectives in the Constitution. Having the girls spend their energy positively or constructively, because now you see, you can't find these girls doing those nasty things in the village. What time will they get that time to do those things? Anytime they are free, they're on the pitch.
What things?
They're playing.
What kind of?
Roaming with boys. The village where I come from, we have a very high rate of girls drop out from school, teenage pregnancies, but you get to the team, you rarely even find such cases, because even in the schools where they are, you rarely find them in those how can I call them?
In the issues that
yes.
Kind of. I can attest to this because I am a young mother myself. I grew up in one of the biggest, largest informal settlements. I think Enos is privy to this information. And I became a young mother at 18. And as much as I've made trends in my life and steps in my life that I'm very supportive, as Enos says, that you have a support system that carries you towards, it does take girls and women a step back. It does impact the future of women and girls. It does impact even the marital hope for girls who get pregnant early, and also in terms of academia for those ones who do not have a strong support system. So these are issues that I can attest to from a personal perspective. But then you have a group of young women playing football so that they can stay in school. This is powerful.
Sure. We're actually happy because as small as we started, right now I can tell you we have girls from all over the country, and I can give an example of Mombasa. Mombasa is very far from Kakamega, but we already have 3 girls from Mombasa studying in Western and playing football. They had actually stayed 2 years away from school, but because we saw them and we saw the talents, they are now in Western Kenya. We also have others from Kisumu, we have others from Siaya County, and we're still looking forward to having more in the team.
That is perfect. As we wind up the show, that is a very perfect note to wrap it up. But it's a way to also recognize the amount of effort, the amount of adaptability, the amount of support that we need as community. So, and even as Enos said, being well-rounded as individuals, you can do one thing, but you can also do 2 things, and you can also do 3 things. Sure. It's about focus, right? It's about prioritizing. It's about sacrifice, because I am sure that little cent that you sent to the football club might go somewhere else, but you sacrifice so that girls can be able to go to school. Sure. I want to give a very big shout out to all the players of Green Blades football team. Way to go, girls. Keep it up. Tunawapenda sana. We love you in Safari Podcast, and I hope one day we will come to Kakamega. Sindio?
Of course.
Tutanjo huko, tutacheza mpira. Na mimi nitakuwa number 5, striker. Yo.
Number 5 is a defender. Yeah, but we would like to test that. And number 5 is a striker. Hapana siwezi. Number 5 defender. Maybe nitakuwa defender ma striker, who knows. But a big shout out to you girls, Green Blades football team, from our team here at Safari Podcast, and a very big thank you to Enos Ambani. As parting words, people like to know, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite music? And your last parting shot, your advice to our listeners, or your words of encouragement and hope to our listeners. All right, thank you. I won't say much. Of course, my favorite food is kuku. Yes, that is chicken, whether fried or choma.
Boiled?
Yeah, we boil chicken. Yeah, so and of course, if you have chapati to complement whatever you're having. And then my favorite music, I love Kenny G.
Yeah. Kenny
G music, the saxophone and all that. I love listening to Kenny G. And of course, our very own Nyashinski. Yes. What else? Parting shot, I have lots of them. But for now, because my team is playing very soon, I'd encourage us, anytime anyone feels like they want to support the team, Green Blades, we are Green Blades on Facebook. But I'm very sure if you can also get hold of Wairimu of this Safari Podcast, feel free if you want to also come to Western, feel free to contact her. You can come and watch the girls. They are fun to watch.
Perfect. Thank you so much Enos, asante sana. Walai, leo ndio show yetu ya hapa Safari Podcast. Tunashukuru sana bwana Enos Ambani ambaye amekuwa na sisi kwa leo. Hadi wakati mwingine, ni mimi wako Wairimu Gitao na
Enos Ambani.
Tutaonana tena kwenye Safari Podcast. Bye for now.
Bye.